So it's the 1st of May. It's day 28 on trail. Hoping to walk at least 20 miles today. But I've had a bit of a blocked nose and sore throat, and it's developed into a cough overnight. So more sickness to deal with on trail. Yay. It's exactly not what I was wanting to happen this week. I was hoping that my body was going to come back to normal and I could really push out some good miles. Alas, not the case. The weather is stunning this morning. It's really, really humid. Really clear. I was sweating in my tent before I even got up this morning. So it's going to be a really hot day. I'm going to have to be careful to drink enough water. I don't think I did yesterday. And I really don't want to get too dehydrated out here. So yesterday I was talking about Raiden's shiny new shoes and how comfortable they were, and then he's now wearing 2 pairs of socks and has both heels taped because they started giving him blisters. Once again, I think he should switch to sandals. Marvelous little patch of trail magic. I've had a burger, I've had 2 mandarins. I'm gonna search for a drink. These guys have been running this for 15 years, they say. It's pretty cool. So the sign says there's only 1,869.6 miles to Baxter State Park. Not far to go now. So we had a pretty good bit of trail magic down at Sam's Gap 2 miles ago, and now we've just climbed a really big hill. I definitely feel a bit squishy. Too much food, but that's alright. 9 more miles today. It's already 2 o'clock, so I think it's going to be a later day than normal. Nice view out here. So it's 6:30. I've just crossed the 20-mile mark for today, 32 kilometers. Got another 1 mile, or about 1.5, 1.6 kilometers left until we get to Whistling Gap, which is where we're planning on sleeping tonight. We've pushed on quite a lot later than normal, but I'm feeling good. It's been a really good day. Up over Big Bald and Little Bald was really nice. We did have a lot of uphill today, which I don't like so much, but Raiden likes it because he doesn't like going downhill. Not entirely sure where I'm heading right now. I was hoping that maybe we could see the gap sometime soon, but it's not that obvious yet anyway. Looking forward to some dinner and setting up camp for the night soon. Good morning. It is the 2nd of May, day 29 on trail. We've got about 13 miles, I think, which will get us to Erwin, or to get us to Uncle Johnny's, which is on trail. We're planning on going into Erwin, I think, to resupply. It's a mostly downhill day today, which is nice to balance out the mostly uphill day we had yesterday. Not much else to say really. Really looking forward to getting to Damascus and switching out some gear when I get there. My sleeping bag is way too warm for the conditions at the moment, and so I have been absolutely melting at night when I try and sleep. Just really not much fun. But I have another quilt at a friend's house at the moment, and so she's going to post that out to me so I can get that in Damascus, as well as some other things. Get rid of a lot of warm gear, switch out my t-shirt, maybe my shorts as well, they're already ripping. Yeah. It's once again already really hot today. We've been up and over one little hill and sweating like crazy. There is a little bit of a breeze, which is really lovely when it decides to blow, but otherwise hot, humid and sticky, which I guess is just life. Summer's still not really even here yet, so I think it's probably just going to get worse, and I'm just going to kind of have to get used to it. But so I was walking along the other day and I was thinking that my channel never really had any sort of introduction. So I thought, 29 days into the Appalachian Trail, that I might introduce myself. If you haven't figured it out, my trail name is Chili Bin in New Zealand. A chili bin is a cooler, or Australia it's an esky. I got my name on the PCT, which I walked in the 2018 season. Most of it, I'll get to that later I guess. And there's no real cool story about why my name is Chili Bin. I think really it was just the silliest New Zealand thing I said when I was on the trail, and that group of people decided it should be my name. I was born and raised in Auckland, New Zealand. My brother and sister, my parents still live there, and really I still live there at the moment. I'm just in the US on a 6-month visa while I walk the trail, and then after that I'll have to leave. My current plan so far is, once it gets approved, I'm hoping to go live and work in Canada for a couple of years after finishing off the Appalachian Trail, rather than going home to New Zealand. But nothing's certain yet. My visa still hasn't been approved for that, so I'm not 100% certain on that plan at the moment. Definitely not ready to go back to New Zealand for a little while anyway. I want to live and work somewhere else for a while. It just started raining, which is kind of nice. Hoping it will cut through the heat a little bit. And I'm heading into Erwin today anyway, so it doesn't matter if I get too wet. So in New Zealand, we don't really use the term hiking to refer to what I'm doing now, although I believe that some people would also call this backpacking, but once again in New Zealand we wouldn't use that term. We call it tramping. So I didn't really grow up doing a lot of tramping. My family went camping, we did a bit of boating, we had a motorhome for a little while, a converted bus that my dad built, and we travelled around in that quite a lot, but never really more than an hour or so out to go up to a lookout or something like that. It wasn't until I was in high school that I started doing tramping trips, and I got into it through a program called the Young New Zealanders Challenge, or the Duke of Edinburgh Award, which is an award scheme which young people do a sport or physical recreation, a skill, a community service, and expeditions. And for my expeditions, I went on multi-day tramping trips. So that's kind of how I got into it. I kind of went on my first overnight tramping trip when I was like 14, my second year of high school. And that was my bronze Duke of Edinburgh trip, run by a couple of teachers at my school, Mr. and Mrs. Bungay, who were absolutely fantastic. And then after that you kind of had to organise your own trips, and I didn't really do much. And it wasn't until I got a high school boyfriend and he was into tramping, and we had a really good group of friends who were into it, and so through my later teens and my early 20s I did a lot. And then once I was in university I joined the Auckland University Tramping Club, which I'm still a member of now, even though I haven't been a university student for quite a long time, just because it's a great way to meet people and get out on trips. For a really long time, through hiking wasn't even something that crossed my mind. I didn't really know that such a thing existed. And then one year, over Labour weekend in New Zealand, I did the Cape Reinga Coastal Walkway, and that trail overlaps with the first few days of the Te Araroa, which is New Zealand's long pathway, which is a walking trail that runs from Cape Reinga at the northern end of the North Island to Bluff, which is at the bottom of the South Island, about 3,300 kilometres, which is somewhere around 1900 miles. Yeah, and so then I kind of found out that this trail, the Te Araroa, existed, and from there I was kind of tickled by the idea of doing it. It took me quite a few years before I really put some thought and planning into it and actually made that happen, but that was definitely my first step into long distance through hiking. So I think it was October 2014 when I first found out that Te Araroa existed, and then it was 2 years later, in December 2016, that I set out to walk the South Island half of Te Araroa northbound, and I did that to fundraise for charity, which I think a lot of people watching this maybe already know, but for those of you who don't, that's what I was doing. And I fell in love with it instantly. I fell in love with the through hiking lifestyle. I found out that I really like walking a stupidly long way in a day, in a week, in a month, whatever. It forever changed the way I look at going on a tramping trip, and really gave me, I guess, a desire to do other stuff. So when I started out on Te Aroa, I didn't know about any of the Triple Crown, and I met a British woman who had walked the PCT. I don't know if she'd walked in the other trails, but I know that her partner was a Triple Crowner. Anyway, and I found out from her about the PCT, and instantly I was like, yes, that, I want to do it. And the timing all worked out, and the next time I was in town, I stopped and I got myself a permit to walk the PCT in 2017. And immediately after I'd done it, I realised that was a stupid idea. I just got a new job, and they were letting me take time off to walk Te Aroa, and they'd sponsored the charity I was fundraising for. And somehow within like a month I would have to get a visa for the US and all sorts of things, and it was just a little bit rash and a little bit silly. So I cancelled that permit, finished off the South Island of Te Aroa and went back to work. But I was straight away, you know, already thinking PCT 2018. And so I made that happen. In November 2018 I got a PCT permit, I got a B2 visa, I quit my job again, and then I actually went and walked the North Island of Te Aroa, had a few weeks off, and then headed over to the US to walk the PCT. I had an absolutely fantastic time on the PCT. I loved the terrain, I loved the trail, I loved the people I met, and I really did make some friends for life on that trail, which is also, you know, a little bit difficult when you live on the other side of the world. But in central Washington, I was, you know, about 200 miles from the finish line, and I was feeling a bit run down, and I said, oh, you know, I'll just have a couple of days off and feel better before I keep going. And over those couple of days my health deteriorated pretty quickly. I went from being a little bit run down to not even being able to walk up a flight of stairs without needing a sit-down break, which was pretty scary. I went to the doctors there, and they found out that I had a pulmonary embolism. I had multiple, I guess. I had several small blood clots in each lung, and I also had very severe anemia, so bad that my iron levels were below the detection limit of the lab test, which in turn had affected my hemoglobin, and my hemoglobin was very, very low, which meant that my body couldn't transport oxygen, hence the breathing troubles. I spent 3 days in Central Washington Hospital, where I had a blood transfusion and multiple iron transfusions. And they told me that with a few days rest I should be able to get back on trail and keep going, but that wasn't the case. So I have 180 miles left to finish off the PCT, and all things going to plan, I'm hoping that I can finish that off this year after I reach Katahdin, but that's still a little way away yet. After finishing off the PCT, I was meant to be heading back to university to do a master's and become a high school teacher, but when I got back my health wasn't all that great, and my heart really wasn't in it. Really at that point I was already thinking about the next through hike, so I took up some part-time work with my previous employer over the summer, and then once the doctors finally gave me medical clearance to travel, I bought a plane ticket, and here we are on the AT. A lot of people have asked me if I plan on hiking the CDT next, and well, part of me likes to say, well, I'm not really planning that far ahead at the moment. In reality, I think it's probably on the agenda, and then who knows what else. I certainly don't think that I will be able to go back to a 9-to-5 office lifestyle again, but I'm fortunate that my degree gives me the opportunities to do other sorts of work as well, and maybe I can get a job working outdoors, which will at least hopefully not drive me insane. I hope you guys enjoyed that probably not so short little story about me and why I'm tramping or why I'm hiking or whatever. I have a few other things that I've thought about that maybe I'll talk about over the coming weeks, so that I don't have to just show you endless videos of trees and my feet and Brayden's back. But in the meantime, I think I'm about 2 miles away from Erwin now, which is the end of the day for today. It's only a 13-mile day. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm really looking forward to a shower and laundry. I smell horrendous. So that's going to be great. It's going to be so good. I cannot wait. There's like hints on the river. Katahdin, 1,822.4 miles.